Hey, good morning everyone, Trackman44 here. Hey, there comes a time in everyone's life when it's time to thin out some stuff, get rid of some things that you're probably not going to be using. And it's time for this one here to go down the highway. This has been a really good old 44. It's been sitting in this place right here since 2015. Yeah, it's on its 7th year just sitting here. I just don't use it hardly at all. Well, I don't use it at all anymore. It used to be my main go-to tractor. I use this thing for everything under the sun around here. But other tractors have come along, and so I just use the smaller tractors, for a little more fuel efficiency. Really kind of hate to get rid of it, but that young fellow that bought that little crawler, that little 2244 Massey Ferguson, he expressed a tremendous desire to be the proud papa of this guy here. So I went ahead and sold this to him, and I'm gonna see if I can't get him to fire up. And I probably clean the carburetor and everything, but just for the heck of it, I'm gonna dump some gas in it, just see if it'll hit a lick, you know what I mean? But I'm gonna go ahead and air these tires up. I'm gonna roll it downhill just a little bit out here in the level. As long as we have shade this morning, I'm gonna go ahead and see if I can get her fired up. And if not, I'll pull the carburetor off and put it in the ultrasonic parts washer, clean the carburetor, and then go ahead and put it back on, try it again. So if you wanna see a good old 44 come to life, hang around a little bit. As you guys well know, the work with these old tractors, this is what you have to look forward to fluid-filled tires, whether it's a front tire or a rear wheel. This one here is far enough gone, the only answer will be a replacement rim. What I'm going to do, because it's kind of tight in here, I don't want to run into the trailer or my good truck here, or the old International grader. I'm going to use a snatch block to change the direction of my pull so that I can just completely stay out of the way. For you guys that are snatch block impaired, a snatch block opens up like this. You wrap your cable around it, hook it to your load, take your tractor or whatever your pulling device is over here, and you can pull from a remote location, essentially from the line of the direct line of the thing you want to move. So what I'll do is I'll wrap my cable right through here and hook it right here on these chokers for the angle that I want to pull the tractor. There's a snatch block hooked up to the uphill side of the bucket on my little Kubota, and over here connected to the steering pedestal on the old 44. That worked out well enough. I'm going to go ahead and put some chalk blocks so it doesn't roll back downhill. I got plenty of room to get to the carburetor and get around, put a battery in it and all that stuff. So here it's going to sit until we get it fired up. No corrosion hardly at all on a negative terminal. It's that negative ground. The positive terminal is all corroded up. You know you're not going to get by that easy. For now, because I don't care if the charging charges or whatever, that's what all this stuff is here. Firing the lighting circuit and firing the charging circuit and all that stuff. I'm just going to buff the inside out and shine it up. We were on vacation up in the Wisconsin Dells about 3 years ago. I don't know why, we just walked into a second-hand store and I found this 12-volt brand spanking new drill. I mean, it was literally brand new, sitting there in the case. They had $7 marked on it. So I bought this drill for $7. The batteries were, it's old, new old stock. The batteries were trashed. I bought a pair of batteries for on Amazon, a pair of batteries for $17. Shipping was free because of Amazon Prime, and I've been using this thing ever since. It doesn't have the oomph of my bigger drills, but it's okay for this stuff. Back when my kids were in 4-H, I used this tractor to pull our 4-H club's Christmas float in the Christmas parade every year for several years. I had a generator mounted on a bracket I put on the side of the tractor, and that powered the lights that ran the Christmas lights and stuff on the wagon. I'm only concerned about getting power to the ignition circuit and the starter circuit. I'm not concerned, like I said, about the lighting or anything like that right now. Make sure nothing grounds out. Well, that part's ready. Now the gas tank was bone dry. It always had a little bit of a dribble on the petcock. So hopefully this here didn't fill up, and then everything evaporate and leave all the residue and stuff, you know, inside the carburetor. I went ahead and put 4 gallons of fresh gas in it, opened up the petcock, had to clean the scum off of it, watched the petcock fill up. It came through the filter and it started dribbling out the main jet right here. So that means we're getting fuel to the float bowl and making sure, and hopefully the points doesn't have corrosion stuff on it. But if the points don't have corrosion, this thing should fire. But if it don't hit off, you know, very quickly, we'll just pop the distributor and take it. Okay, am I expecting it to start? Well, it will start eventually, but right now I'm not totally confident that it'll light off. But we're going to find out. Got everything in neutral, got the chires blocked. I don't think I'll choke it. I'll just see what happens. Well, the lights work, that's a good thing. Maybe you better choke it. Forgot to turn the gas back on. Float bowl's probably not full of fuel. I think we'll stop and go to the points and take a look, see if the points are corroded. 7 years is a pretty long time to set. Of course, it was always covered. I'm going to turn the key on and I'm going to pop the points a couple times, see if there's spark across the points. I see no spark on the points. Nope, it's dead. We got to work backwards. This guy here has an auto ranging AC or DC scale, so put it on DC and find yourself a very good ground. I like to take the ground right straight to the battery, because at that point you know you're good and grounded. And then you know that you got to have 12 volts DC, you know, or you have to power your distributor. So once you turn your key on, check and see if you have voltage right there going into the points. Just bypass everything else and work backwards, because you should be able to find the weak spot with the corrosion, or in the circuit anyway, working backwards. So we start off here, and then to check the wire, we go back to where it comes from, which is the coil, then the other side of the coil, and then up to the ignition switch. So let's just see what's happening. Start off right here on the distributor. I have 12.2 volts on the distributor, so that's a good thing. Okay, now I wonder what happened inside the distributor here. That's really a good thing. Let's go back inside and take a look. I'm really shocked. I didn't think that was going to be the case. So this could be grounding out as it passes through. There's an insulation right here, so we should have 12 volts right here on the inside, and we do, which means we should have 12 volts to the condenser, and at the same side we should have it to one side of the coil. Closed, we should have it pass through to the other side of the coil. So even though that looks nice and clean, there's corrosion on the contact points. So I'm going to go after my points file, and we'll be right back. I now have spark across the contacts as I open the contacts and allow them to close again. So it was a very weak spark, so there's still some corrosion in the control circuit that needs to be taken care of. But it might be enough to get this thing to fire. Running just a little bit rough, but run 5, 8 gallons, 10 gallons of gas to it a little bit. Run runs up and down the road, it'll probably iron itself out. I can no longer claim to be one of those guys that doesn't have luck with getting something set without doing something with the carburetor, for so long a time. Well, that turned out pretty good. I'm kind of happy with that. Sorry I had the fan running in the background whenever I got that thing running. Completely forgot about the fan affecting the video or the quality of the audio on the video. But you could tell, obviously it fired up fairly well. I was lucky enough to where all I'd done was made sure it had gas coming through the float bowl. I didn't even pull the carburetor apart and clean the carburetor. But the good thing about it is this thing always had a leaking gas tank. So I think whenever I parked it, it had very little amount of gas in it. I think the gas went ahead and leaked out right there. So it did not keep that old gas in here and keep the float bowl full of that old gas to give a problem, by gumming it up and all that stuff. So we got really lucky in that case. Like I said, this is the first time this has run since 2015. This is 2022, so it's been essentially 7 years with it sitting on that hillside. And so I'm actually kind of happy that it sounds as good as it does. It definitely needs a carburetor kit or a carburetor cleaning, definitely needs a set of plugs, and it definitely needs more than likely a set of points and a condenser, and a good set of them, not just the cheap ones too, because they will not last very long at all. But I think just a little bit of a little tender love and care, and I think this thing's going to be ready to go. And a set of brakes. This thing here never had good brakes. It was always very poor stopping. And like I said, this was my go-to tractor for many, many, many years. And it's time to go down the highway. There's no doubt about it. So you know what? This was a pretty nice, neat little startup. Had some issues, but it's running fine. I already sent this short video of it running to the young fellow that's going to go ahead and buy it, and he seems to be happy with it so far. And you know what? I'm happy with it too, because I had the benefit of using it for many, many years, you know what I mean, before I parked it back in 2015. All that having been said, this is TrackMan 44, and I'm out of here, guys.